Hello, hello, one and all, short and tall, big and small. I'm so honored that you are choosing to spend time with Amina.
Spend time with Amina. Saturdays at 2 p.m. inside the Children's Corner, right here on PBCJ.
The crime numbers were going up. We were all talking about it every day. It was front page. Now that we are turning tide and it is coming down, we need to talk about it as much as we did then. Safety that we more and more feel in Jamaica and that our security forces are committed to. And so I am delighted this morning to welcome and to acknowledge the Honorable Dr. Horace Tang, our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, who is here with us. The wonderful, the Honorable Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security. We also have the Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, excellent Commissioner of Police. We're all very happy that he is there. Ambassador Alison Stone-Roof, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security. We also have with us Mrs. Terry Ann Thomas Gale, Acting Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education. We also have several DCPs with us here. We have Warren Clark, who is responsible for strategic operations, and DCP Andrew Lewis, Head of Administration and Support Services. We also have several teachers who are present with us in the Jamaica House Banquet Hall. And so I want to acknowledge them who are here and other members of the UE Guild who are here with us. Rashawn has become an advisor to me because I listen to the young people as much as I can. And so I've said to him, you're now an advisor to me, and I'll say the same thing to the UTech Student Union President. All the other students who've been invited, members of the media, Jamaicans watching at home and abroad, a wonderful good morning to you again. And as we said before, it is Teachers' Day, and we have some teachers who are here with us. This morning we have Alex Hepburn, Principal, Mona Heights Primary. We also have Sharon Christian, Vice Principal of Mona Heights Primary School. We have Anika McNeil, Senior Teacher at Mona Heights Primary. We also have Kada Benjamin, Acting Principal of Randolph Lopez School of Hope. I was there. Just yesterday, I was at that school. They are doing a fantastic job with our special needs children. They are absolutely amazing. They had me with the special needs student at the soca section. They were having we were dancing. And it was really very fun yesterday. They're really doing a great job at incorporating our special needs students and making them feel that they too are important. They're as important as any other child. I also want to acknowledge Mrs. Nicole Reed-Wright, also a teacher at Randolph Lopez School of Hope. And we also have Miss Melissa Mapson, principal of the Constitution Hill Primary School. And I also went there. And so I know that school, and she's an excellent principal. I mean, she has complete command over her school, and they are doing well. Her children, she has a 3-year-old who is reading already. I had a 5-year-old who came and read some big words in a book, and he was just amazing. They're doing wonderful things. Our teachers around this country are absolutely fabulous, and it's a great day to celebrate them. Also, at this time too, another entity that works a lot and supports our teachers is here with us, Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation. We have some members here. We have Sandrina Davis, who is the CEO of the Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation. We have Michelle Peters Mullings, one of their social workers, and we have Sujay Boswell, Program Manager. So it's really great to have all of you. And again, I thank especially the teachers and especially corporate Jamaica that supports our teachers so much in everything that we do. There are over 25,000 teachers in our country, and they get up every single day and they go to work. They go despite the challenges, and they do the best that they can for our children. And our commitment at the Ministry of Education is to support our teachers in what they do, in delivering the outcomes we want, which is where every child feels that they have an opportunity to prosper and to reach their full potential. And so always, as I start, there are a couple of things that I want to add, and I'm not going to do them for too long, but just to make sure that they are noted. The first one has to do with house wiring in Portland. So more than 1,000 households in Portland have been identified to benefit from the government's house wiring and inspection program. And this is aimed at helping residents transition to regularized electricity through the JPS. This has been funded by a $1 billion allocation, which is in our 25-26 budget. And this initiative targets 20,000 new JPS customers by covering the cost of house wiring and inspection. And we're implementing this through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. And at the first year that they had in April in Port Antonio, they engaged residents, signed them up, and once enrolled, households will receive basic installation. They'll get 2 lights and 2 plugs and be connected legally to JPS pending regulatory approval. We're going to have another fair. So for those of you who are in Clarendon, there is going to be one on May 9 for any Jamaicans who want to regularize themselves. Again, this is a government that cares. This is a government that's committed to our people. And I know, as I've gone around the country, nobody wants to have an illegal electricity setup. They don't want that. They don't want that for themselves. They don't want it for their families. And so our government is working with them to regularize them and to take those costs out of that consideration. Another thing I'll point out is that the government is embarking on drainage studies in Spanish Town to address the flooding concerns we have there. And so we'll be doing that extensive study in Spanish Town and Old Harbour to address severe flooding, particularly on St. John's Road. And our Minister with responsibility for works, the Honourable Robert Morgan, announced that a multilateral organization has been engaged to assess the area and develop a targeted drainage solution. And this is a big deal for us. I also would want to talk about another promise made by the government and another promise kept by the government. And that is in relation to the reduced GC rates on energy. And so the changes to the GCT on energy charges, which were recently announced by the government of Jamaica, are now in effect. They came into effect on the 1st of May. So after the cycle of your electricity bill, you will see a difference on it. So a reduced GCT rate of 7% will now be applied to the energy charges of both postpaid and prepaid residential customers of JPS. This new rate places the 15% GCT that was previously applied to usage over 150 kilowatt hours. The new 7% GCT rate applies to residential customers' energy usage, and as I said, as at May 1, 2025. So prepaid customers will also see a new tax line on their receipt or vouchers when they top up starting May 1. We're also pleased to note that there are other developments there in terms of the GCT rate for commercial customers and also the government subsidy and rebate. And so the government also announced a special rebate and subsidy for low energy users. So postpaid residential customers who use 250 kilowatt hours or less per month will receive a 3% government tax subsidy and a 7% government tax rebate. These benefits will be applied automatically to customers who qualify and will appear as a separate line item on their JPS bill. So you will see that rebate on your bill. This was a commitment that was made. It was not just words, it is real. And I know that a lot of Jamaicans are going to benefit from this. Again, it is a government that cares. That is what you are seeing. Now, always I have this document today is 20 pages of good things that are happening. I cannot speak to all 20 pages because we have the wonderful Deputy Prime Minister in the House. And so I can't go through any more of the great good news stories, but there is so much good happening in our country. And so at this point, I am going to invite our wonderful Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security to come to the podium, the man who has been overseeing all of this work in making us feel safer in this country. You deserve all of the commendations that you've been getting. I know it's a lot of work. It's you, it's the commissioner, it's all of our police officers. So many of us turned out in our blue to support you because we know how hard what you have done has been, and it's been wonderful. And so this morning, please join me in welcoming our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chan.
Thank you, my colleague, Minister Morris Dixon. You know, she could continue with the good news. The other full. Good morning to all, Jamaica, and members here present and online, but she has done extensive introduction and given a full briefing, especially on this Teachers' Day. She should have continued, I think, with the role that education requires. I just want to say I think we have Prime Minister found the right person to begin to transformation in education after listening to her this morning. But I must recognize, before proceeding, the President's Guild as a young leader. Welcome. It's a good place to begin. So maybe you can look at succeeding in this year. My days as Guild President was quite, it's good instruction in governance, if it's still run as a fairly autonomous body. The teachers, of course, I want to say pleasant good morning again and welcome for on Teachers' Day. I should have spoken last week, but I had another event. But it's good to be here with the teachers, which is education is still a basic foundation for really ensuring our country can grow sustainable and achieve the level of productivity we want, and it's critical for teachers. I always tell the story that, you know, education is what put here, but not to dismiss the conflicts and your advocacy for all kind of change, but my base school was in a lady's veranda, Miss G, I remember her very well, who had come from Panama, where she went to secondary school. And my best chair was under the grapefruit tree. But I didn't do bad for it, quite frankly. Good morning. This morning, we're going to take a look at our post-sectoral, this is the post-sectoral press briefing. And of course, I have with me this morning both my permanent secretary, Mr. Alistair Stoneroof, who is the real person who runs the ministry, understand? Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake and his team members, Deputy Commissioner Warren Clark and Deputy Commissioner Andre Lewis. And the end of the protocol, but not the order, is of course my Minister of State, Honorable Juliet Flynn. I understand Minister is an Olympian, and maybe why she was able to work with me in this ministry, which has you require Olympian effort to keep things going and keep on the right track. And just for your information, she handles that side of the ministry, which I did not speak much on this time, which is the crime prevention side, which is critical. Her experience in sports and her life will a good guide to as we intervene in those areas. But on this occasion, we'll focus pretty heavily on the security element, and this idea just want to interrogate further some of the issues raised during the sectoral debate on Tuesday, April 29. I want to repeat, not in a critical way, but in a positive way, that from the very beginning, this administration laid out a very clear and strategic plan to secure Jamaica. So we know how we got here, why we are here. But of course, in the course things here, the debate was always a bit contentious. It is a holistic approach which included developing, transforming, and strengthening the security forces, and in particular, the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The goal is to equip our police with the tools, the training, and resources needed to deal effectively with the criminal gang and actors that play in Jamaica. They're quite smart, they're well-resourced, and they're relentless in their efforts. In those early stages, we made it clear we would implement strong legislative measures to save lives and stabilize the situation, while steadily building up the agents, the capacity of our security forces. It was and still is a common sense approach. But building out an effective security force is not something we do overnight. I won't say who, but I recall one person who was a bit cynical said to me that, to make a policeman, they have to go to the commissioner and swear and some document, and that's create. They become DCs, and you can, we have, on election day, we have, 6,000 of them across the island. So I made the fun remark and said, well, if that's that easy, all I have to do is make those people permanent. Now everybody knows what one policeman is. It was really an unfortunate comment because building up an efficient and quality police force, entire security force, requires training, recruitment of the right personnel, and in fact ensuring that the conditions of work are in keeping with the job that they face, which is a tough one. I think we have been able to achieve that. I think we have leadership that is effective and is carrying out the job effectively, and that included much of the transformative work itself. All the government could do was do the policy, and it was up to the commissioner and deputy commissioners. At that point, Dr. Blake was one of the commissioners who in fact headed up a critical portfolio of logistics and planning. And we have been able to achieve the objective of really taking our police force to the level it is today. We're at 14,000 just about. We review that number, but we can't go too far. It's costly, but we are moving from under 10,000 regular police officers. At one stage, auxiliaries were included and moved it up to near 11. But we have had the privilege of recruiting and training 6,000 fine young Jamaicans who are now active police officers, providing them with tools I'll outline later, and that's why we've been able to get the results. And I emphasize that the first item was the quality of the human resources. I do take pride in the police officers I see graduating when I go for the graduation on a regular basis. Today we have some best crime statistics, the results of our effort in investing and giving the police the resources required and leaving them to do their job. I think the commissioner can say, every police will tell you, this minister is the least interfering of any executive, neither myself nor the Minister of State. In fact, the police station we have been the one we're about to demolish to look at the conditions. And my Permanent Secretary does the work to ensure that supporting administrative facilities are there. And the results are very evident. The impact of the planning, the fruits of our investment, and the power of confidence in our approach, which was critical because we came on the batterings. We had to hold course, and sometimes not exactly easy, especially when you're still getting up to the issue of multiple homicides and drive-by shootings. For January this year, which I repeat, January 1 to May 5, 2025, we had 230 murders, which represented 148 fewer lost. At that time, the 38.4% reduction. This morning, as of this morning, the figure is actually 39%. And we'd like to commend the commissioner and his team for the work they're doing, supported by the ministerial staff. Major crimes are down by 20%, which means the rape, robberies, etc. So the trend is going well. And the word trend, I'm not saying victory yet, because everybody will wonder what could come tomorrow. But we have had 3 months consistency, well, 4 months, December, January, February, March, April, and going into May, which is the worst one. And the commissioner showed me has planned for it, and it's just off very well. I think our running less, about 50% behind what it was last year. If we get that, it will be, I think it's about 8 out of 16 or 19, so it may be ahead of 50%. That's the kind of numbers we're seeing, and as I articulated in the House last week, we are not just seeing a decline in crime over year, but we're recording some historic low crime statistics. The weekly murder number the lowest weekly murder count in 2020 was 6 murders in Christmas week of 2024. It was certainly, from a point of view of violence, the most peaceful Christmas we had in 25 years. The murder rate, in fact, has been on decline since September of last year, except for 1 week in November. We had a spike which the Commissioner can explain, and police keeps a pretty good track. And what impresses me as the layperson the minister top is that whenever anything goes wrong, I get a rational explanation. And I think that the police understands, they know what is happening, and they respond appropriately. So you'll get a prolonged spike. And as long as there are criminals out there with guns and with the intent to murder and the resources to do fast cars and money, there will be incidents that break the ice. But what I can say, at this point, although I said we are, call it 6 months into a good time, it's a good time, then it's a long time, but I'm confident that this police force will respond, and respond with the support from the other agencies where they have been getting the cooperation that is required. The lowest numbers, of course, for a month, has been in this year. It went to 48 in February, which was the lowest in 25 years, and last month we went to 44, which was the lowest in a very long time. Lowest quarterly murder rate, of course, 187 murders in Q1 of 2025, 187 murders. I wouldn't compare that with other figures. That's a number I had in the parish in my constituency in 1 year. Not a parish, part of quarter of Montego. Most consecutive weeks, as I referred to before, of murders, and we have had a run recently of below 15, where we take the long break reduction murder rates. I think we have had a run of 8 weeks of homicide below 15, which is a remarkable number. Still high, still not desirable, but when you're coming from where I used to get 21 a weekend, you have a different atmosphere in the place. And I mean 21 a weekend in a constituency, not in the island. Most weeks in the quarter with murder below 20 in 25 years, and the lowest quarter major crime in 25 years, 98 cases. Major crime is the one that instills a level of insecurity and fear. It's the grabbing of the person, hurting somebody on the roadway, breaking the house, it's the assault, breaking and robbery, especially with aggravation across the island. All those are going down because I think the police is present and they respond effectively. I'll just quickly run through some of the things that we think have been noted and remind the public of them today. Since 2018, I said we have recruited enough police officers not only to replace those who are retiring or leaving for many reasons, but to increase our numbers to the establishment levels of 14,094. In doing it, we had to expand the training facility. During COVID, we acquired Tranquility Bay in St. Elizabeth. Later on, took over Camp Verley in St. Catherine and repaired Hammond Barracks, and as well as improved Twickenham Park. We're designing to become one of the finest law enforcement training facility in the region and ensure it has quality recognition from NCVET for vocational work and the University Council for tertiary education. So we're operating at almost full establishment and we're reviewing our work. One of the outcomes of that is that institutions and communities that did not want to see the police at a certain point in time are now calling on the police for support and help. And we'll see to what extent we can extend ourselves while we continue to do the community work that is required. In the process of recruitment and training, to ensure that there was effective interface with the public, comprehensive leadership training and supervised development programs were introduced, and also became a basis for promotion, which is a critical issue in the police force. The Commissioner has promoted some 1,000 plus officers, policemen, since January, well, later until February, March, including officers as well as corporals, sergeants, and others. And this is crucial, not only for the motivation, morale of the force, but for the quality supervision in the communities. When you have a patrol on the road, there should be an officer, there should be a police with at least a stripe there, a corporal out there. I remember going out with the then commissioner to a particularly difficult community, and it reflected, unfortunately, the unfortunate condition that they had at the time. The car was broken down, had no air conditioning, and it was in a place, part of Kingston called Nanspen. Most of the area will not know Nanspen, because an area that you would not venture to go into unless you have particular to go there. The roads are unpaved, and it's all zinc fenced. And there were 3 police officers there, one was suffering from asthma, which is a place you shouldn't be really. And all were your police officers in the middle of a crossroads which was surrounded by a zinc fence. It is supposed to prevent proactive activity, but I don't think it exposes the police officers to more risk than the proactive solution for the community, because the conditions were just impossible to perform. There should have been someone with a level of responsibility there, besides better working conditions and a vehicle that could function effectively. The Police Training College expanded and modernized the curricula, equipping the officers with the advanced investigative techniques, intelligence analysis, and importantly, how to interact with law-abiding citizens. Essentially, this human rights and citizen rights is a part of the training program there. We're not perfect, but we are getting much better, and we'll get there. The emphasis placed, therefore, on delivery of quality service to the public. And that will open other activities as we go along, and I'll be trying to get to the end of it quickly. Among the other activities, besides providing increased the human resource in terms of training, recruiting, and providing, we had to provide the ecosystem in which they could function. Technology has become a critical part of what we're doing in the Jamaica Conservative Force. In the modern world, any institution must be efficient, and it's going to come into education. We have with AI and whiteboards instead of blackboards, and of course tablets instead of exercise books. I still recall being taught to write for the teachers who are here at school. Being beyond your time, I used to write on the double-line book, so you could write clearly. Police officers had learned. And it worked well for them because we are now converting the books, and you can read the writing even 10 years ago. But that was then. We are looking at fully digitizing the police force, these processes in all areas, and we are maybe the most advanced and the largest institution in the government in Jamaica. We have a strategic master plan, expand the entire system. Jamaica Eye, which always draws questions, we are moving there. I think I could start here. We have over 1,000 cameras out. We are introducing another 300 this year. I have the permission from Cabinet to go into procurement for the 2,500 cameras that will cover the whole island. I gather there was a little misunderstanding today when we spoke in Olympic Way. The impression was given that Olympic Way is the entire extent of our camera system. That's a small part of it. That's only 50 of the near 1,000 we already have deployed. The way they are deployed, an area will have a monitoring center so that there can be a real-time response. So Olympic Way is in South St. Andrew, the cameras feeding from that area. We'll open another monitoring center in Denham Town, and we have monitoring centers across the island where we have cameras. I think there's one in Montego Bay and Church Street. I think we'll move it to Freeport at this point. But the central monitoring will be conducted through the C5 center that the Prime Minister have alluded to on many occasions. That's a costly center that deals with communication, computing, and cyber activity at one center, and everything that comes through Olympic Way or Denham Town or Montego Bay will in fact get to that center at the same time. And the commissioners and the leadership will have access to that kind of activity. Not only incidents that require attention for public order, but it means that if a car is stolen during the park and the person decides they're going to drive it to Chester Castle in Montego Bay to pull it apart and dispose of the parts, somewhere along that route we will spot the license number once we get the license number, and we can intercept your number before we get there. In other contentious areas, the technology will make a big difference, not only in terms of apprehending criminals, but the interaction with the public. It is crucial, and I'll maybe discuss even some as we talk about body cam, which is always a debate. But when the police go on duty, which is working very well, what we call checkpoints along the road has become a major deterrent for criminals who like to move across the island. They're pretty skilled. They'll have one set who is a criminal who is still on the not yet a radar of the police. In other words, he's a decent guy as far as they're concerned, decent in brackets. And he will take an illegal firearm. Nobody expects to trouble him on the road. 2 Ultras or a month ago, where he will leave at a critical point for the criminal who is a shooter, who may have the look of a shooter, therefore he travels alone, or maybe in a taxi, and he makes sure he's not armed. The police have been able to, between intelligence and those regular checkpoints, throw up a number of these things. But in doing that, we have to ensure we stop a number of vehicles, and sometimes innocent people busy going to work. Reality is that sometimes causes arguments. When you have the technology, we'll be able to intercept only the car we want. Once that car plate is part of what we need, we will in fact ensure we can stop those cars. And of course, part of the technology is of course to have a police vehicle, not just a car. Police vehicle that is properly equipped and ready. Infrastructure is a big part of what we do. I won't go into details. We have mentioned them before, and we already committed nearly $20 billion to improving and creating new facilities for the police where they can work in comfort and don't walk on in fear in a police station where they might drop to the floor. It was the physical reality of what we had. And the correction said, make more for interest. I think at my presentation, CVM last week as well, the impression was given that my comments suggest that Indicom didn't have any conviction, but they had any charges based on, although they have what I will say again, and the report I've gotten reinforces that, they have a clean crime scene. And I put in brackets, because they're instigating police officers at a fatal shooting. And therefore, at that fatal shooting, the police officer is there, the family user is there, and the victim is there. It's what you call a full crime scene. A clean crime scene, as opposed to the police officer who gets called and their body on the roadside somewhere in the cane field on the way to there, and he has to go there and then find out, who is this? Where is it coming from? What was used to kill him? Find out what kind of gun it was, and go through a process. And they still get convictions, and they charges. It's a complex crime scene. The Indicom was a clean crime scene, and nobody gets in their way. When a fatal shooting takes place, it is the retained in the state is until Indicom arrives. In fact, time can be a bit challenging when there are difficult areas. But you have to remind you, out of the referrals they have had, charged 10 police officers, they go to court, they'll have the full cooperation of the police force, and we'll see what the outcome is, right? They're doing the work, and the point I'm making is they have good conditions and adequate resources to do effective investigation. We provide them with the resources, we pay their staff, they have crime management equipment, and therefore they can do their investigation. To focus on a single item is not appropriate, but we can discuss that by the question that will come. All efforts outlined our strategic approach have combined to give us the results we have today, which is the investment, the environment, and the equipment they require, and we have made some legislative changes as well in the zones of special operation and the firearms regulation, the Firearms Act, which we changed in 2022. We remain unwavering in our commitment to public order and public safety. Security is a fundamental pillar of national development. In many ways, a secure country with a good education system will grow. And we will continue to take bold, decisive steps to preserve peace, uphold the rule of law, and protect the rights and lives of every Jamaican. Thank you very much, and I will take any questions at this point in time. I think Minister will handle the question.
Thank you, DPM, and it's nice to have national security and education, two very key areas in our country together this morning. Over to you, Naomi.
All right, good morning, Ministers. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We have last week's usual suspects. We're good back. I believe I see the question. Let's start with Mahir, because I think he walked in and said, yes, he has plenty. So remember, Minister did say though it's Teachers' Day, we have to be brisk on time.
Morning, Dr. Chan. Morning, Minister. First things here is to information wide news here. First question to Dr. Chan. We know that there was an increase in murders in Portland specifically. Last Minister Vaz was here, I asked him if there was anything particularly done about that, and he said that there was a tour between you and Commissioner. Has anything been done since then in order to reduce what seems to be an uptick in murders in Portland?
Well, first of all, there have been no more murders in Portland since that. All right. The uptick is also not alarming, but it's alarming to the citizens in Portland, because Portland was one of the pirate zone. I think that less than 5 homicides the year before, and they had jumped quickly to 5, then they had 7, and the extra 2 came from 2 Haitians illegal immigrants. In Portland, because the principal point of entry for illegal immigrants, but we have been, with the help of the MAP Brigade, that is the Coast Guard of the ADF, we have been able to manage that situation fairly effectively. Otherwise, we still have a significant number in Portland, and they continue to be sometimes a problem. My visit is not the part of the work to prevent homicides. My visit was to reassure the citizens we are taking action. Much work was put into Portland, some visible, some not so visible, for good reason, and I think we, at this point, have good control of the situation. But where guns are flowing and men have the will to kill, we have to keep the pressure on man. That's what we're doing. But so far, we have had a good state in Portland. The Commissioner keeps on top of it on a daily basis.
And second question, I don't know if this would be a question for you or the Commissioner, but yesterday we saw in Manchester another crash involving a vehicle with a demonstration plate, and the policeman on the scene told us that police are still not able to track down vehicles that have those kind of plates. And it was a concern that Minister Val also brought up recently.
No, the security team, National Security Council, examined the problem. It has wide implications, and it is one that is used to not only commit crimes, but in fact to a source of money laundering in the country. And in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Transport, and the investigative skill about police and MOCA, we are looking at a way to resolve the matter, and it will resolve pretty soon. Okay?
Laverne, your time. Then we have some questions from the students as well.
Morning, everyone.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One for you, Minister, and I want to put one to the Commissioner of Police. The question for you, Minister, the unexplained well order, that is completely off the table now? Or
No,
is it still?
we have explained this over and over, and it's one that said, like I said, there, when we do planning and articulate our plans, nobody listens, unfortunately. Sometimes they're very, like yourself, professional journalists. You know the problem with the unexplained well order. We have laws that allow us to seize and forfeit goods. We have billions of dollars of forfeited goods but to do so, we have to identify the predicate offense. We are not able to take wealth that are without identifying a predicate offense, because in the change in the amendment to the Constitution, which had widespread and laudable support, that the law is so I was not laudable in the details. The lawyers removed from the Constitution of Jamaica reverse burden proof, which is what is used by the UK government, which is offered to investigate individuals who cannot explain their wealth. We cannot investigate anybody's wealth without evidence that there is a predicate criminal offense. That's the reality. To do so, the last time I spoke to one of the chief advocates, who was a lawyer and a good friend, and explained the details to him, he indicated that to do so would have to amend the legislation, because we have amended the POCA several times, and it is still very effective. I said we have billions of dollars worth of real estate and money that we have used because we get the predicate offense. to do so without evidence of criminal activity, we'll have to set up and use only intelligence. And we put that in brackets. We'll have to then organize a quasi-judicial system. His suggestion as a senior lawyer was that we get a Supreme Court judge to be like a mediator commissioner. By the time we get that quality intelligence, we have evidence. That's just a fact. Now, if we go on, we'll have to amend the Constitution again, and that's always proved controversial, but it's removed. And that's, you have to write it in your reports. The reverse burden proof is the level which was in the Constitution, what could be used easily to investigate anybody who turns up with wealth that they cannot explain, and charge them and forfeit it. Under our Constitution, his right to privacy is protected in that area. Now, to set up a system to do so, we have examined it, but setting up legislation to investigate and restrict an individual without evidence that the courts accept is an extremely difficult process in Jamaica constitutional law. Right? And that's the fact. And I said that the solution offered is one which the policy workers are looking at. And we continue to look at it because it has value, but the process will, in fact, from what we can see up to now, means that we can charge the person anyway.
Minister, no, I appreciate the point you're making, The question was, and maybe I didn't ask it in the correct way, is whether or not it is completely off the table or if it is still
I
an
can't
option.
explain it other way. I don't put the things on the table, I take them off. I tell the Constitution creates an ecosystem which needs to be addressed. And it was changed by law. I don't know the lawyers who participated in the amendment to the Constitution, the Charter of Rights being done, did it deliberately or not deliberately, but it created a bar which is difficult to ascend.
I appreciate it. And my question to the Commissioner. Commissioner, if you will, there's been a lot of incidents that we've seen playing out on social media where citizens are complaining, let me use the word complain, of police officers compelling them to give up the password for their cell phones. We also see instances where citizens are ticketed for the daylight running lights on the cars, as well as the fog lamps. Can you indicate, sir, the legality of, well, I may not say the legality, but the basis on which a police officer would, for example, demand a citizen's passcode to their phone, the legal basis, and the basis on which a citizen is ticketed for a daylight running light on their vehicle?
Commissioner, don't come forward, but I want the question of ask the password. It's wrong, but something that policemen have an influence to do because scamming what is causing our problem. Yeah, so.
Right, good question. Thank you for those questions because they give me the opportunity to speak on them. Let me first say there's a process. There's a process, and the process certainly is not coercing someone on that scene to give up the password. There's a process, and it is a court order has to be made. And so it is not right. It's not legal. Let me just say that clear. And we have since communicated to our members when that came to our attention, that has been a practice. We have also communicated regarding the ticketing of running lights. Okay, if you look at the strict literature of the law itself, it allows certain things to happen, except the fact that these are lights that came with the vehicle, not necessarily placed on the vehicle. And so there is a little gray area there. And so what we have done, we have sent out communication to our members to desist from doing that. Desist from doing that is something that we need to look at in the legislation itself. But for the time being, we have instructed our members not to continue that practice. It's unfair to the motorists.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we go to our student. The Guild President actually had a question.
Thank you.
We start. Could you identify yourself then first, sir? I think you, the Guild President.
Good morning. I am Jermaine Francis, the Faculty of Social Sciences representative-elect on the UMONA campus. And my question is for the Minister regarding safety and security. So, given the rising safety concerns on university campuses, particularly the Mona campus? Will the ministry work with the police to prioritize universities like the UMO and strengthen the security and support on campuses? Thank you.
Thank you. The question now, philosopher Commissioner Blake, which articulated to me well, is that the police in Jamaica must be able to police all of Jamaica and all events that are legal and right in the country. The university, of course, have a security force, and I know it's headed now by one of our retired but outstanding Assistant Commissioner of Police. I think it's Mr. Nesbitt who is there, and prior to that, you have had senior police officers operating there. Any help they need in terms of examining the processes, the security, in terms of physical security of the space, and how to deploy the manpower and what resources they require, the police is available for consultation anytime. We consider the safety of Jamaica and in particular students a high priority. We always, from ages there, the university is surrounded by a community which sometimes have challenges, but one of the interesting features of Jamaica's crime scene and public safety is that when analyzed and researched, and we have both reports, international and local, the LAPA report is the Latin American report, and we do one every 2 years. Crime victimization is extremely low in Jamaica, which that is saying is that despite a high murder rate, most Jamaica, it frightens when it comes close to you, and then you have incidents of people being held up on campus, so it's worrying. At the university campus was a place of safety, but there's still a sense in the wider Jamaica that unless you're involved in something, you won't get attacked. Robbery is opportunistic, and you have a couple of communities around you, from Augusttown to Mona and the Elisa Flats and Tavern. Areas I know quite well that will have the individual opportunistic criminal who will seek to find a student to steal a cell phone, steal money, anything of value. We have not heard any of the major activity in terms of it's a major activity for the student, but things of violence against students is not as bad. But it's something that we are willing to discuss and to see how we can make it safer. I must tell you that when I was elected guild president, we could not use the student union. That was a fact. The lead user of the student union was some members of the community from Wildman Street. And one of my first responsibility by the unanimous agreement of the guild was that we should stop renting out the union. And you know that the guild president residence is near the union. At that time it was in Chancellor Hall and Block X. They had the individuals who were using many friends on the guild council. I didn't know them, so I was to tell them that they can't use the guild. But that's aside.
All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Roshan Unta. I am the guild president-elect of the UMON campus. I have a question to Minister Dixon, re-internships and national service programs. So we know, Minister, that practical experience is critical to training and learning. And a lot of students at the University of the West Indies, they crave more internships and more training programs. Actually ran a campaign on that. We know that the current status quo, while it offers a lot, there is need for some improvement. So I'm asking if from the ministry's point of view, there is any hope or any plans to expand these programs and possibly to work more closely with the student government at UA. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that question. You are correct. Internships are critical, and I know when I was at UWI, I had to work. I worked at then Cable and Wireless. I answered phones. I did 115. Remember 115? That was repair service. So I used to answer the phone and get people cursing me every day about their phones. And that's one of the reasons why when someone is cursing me or upset with me, I'm very calm. Because I learned that at a call center when I was at UWI. And so those internships are really important, not just in terms of giving you some added money to help you to get through university, but it also instills important values in terms of work and other areas of discipline that you need. And so it is very important that we do that, and I'm glad that you ran on that kind of a campaign. We have a number of internships, more like summer work, across the government that we are rolling out. So we're going to have through HEART, we're going to be having through the Ministry of Tourism, we're also going to have the Ministry of Labor doing their big summer program. So those are summer camps. But in terms of internships, where we have big partnerships with corporate Jamaica, that's something that we do have to work on. And given that you have said this is your priority, I can also work with you because it is a priority for me. I see the importance of it, and I'd love for you and the Guild to work with me so that we can work through something to make this more of a reality for our students, because it is very important for their learning outcomes.
This is why he'll make a great advisor, Minister.
He will be. All right,
so
we are at 9:50.
Right. So, yeah, 9:52. So let's squeeze one last in, and
sure.
then we'll wrap up. And Laverne will have the last question then.
Thanks. Minister
Sure.
Morris Dixon, the recent press freedom report that we saw,
Yeah.
we have not heard from the government on it, particularly in relation to what Reporters Without Borders have said is the growth of mistrust between the Jamaican government and the media.
All right.
Could you respond to that particular?
I will. I did put out a release last week on the findings of the report. And it was interesting to read the report, because sometimes when you read those international reports, it feels very foreign to us and our reality. Because this morning is an example of good governance. We have a post-cabinet press briefing. We bring our Deputy Prime Minister, we bring our Commissioner of Police, we bring our Minister of State in National Security, we bring other leaders here. And every post-cabinet press briefing, we bring our ministers of government, and we invite the media. And any question can be asked. No question is off limits. And so this is really us saying, as government, that we're open to scrutiny. We're open to questions, and I see all the people who are here with us this morning. Many of you have never been to a post-cabinet press briefing. Many probably don't even know that we do this on a weekly basis after cabinet, just to answer any questions that the media has. So I think it's quite unfortunate, but obviously it does indicate that we have to do more work. And I think there's always room for us to do more and continue doing more. And so it's really important through the Press Association of Jamaica and also through the Media Association of Jamaica that we have a lot more dialogue. Let's look at how we can do more. So in a morning like this, we open it up to the media, and we have 2 media houses that come. Some mornings we get 3, sometimes we get 4. But then we will see reports, we can't get through to the misters or so on. But this is an opportunity for you to get your questions answered. But it's not always used. And so we have to work through how we build that trust more and more, because it is a priority of our government. We are one of the most open governments you will find. We are here standing before you every week saying, ask us. Ask us whatever you want, and we will give you an answer. No question is ever off limits.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Miss. You're absolutely correct. And we expect then, see you next week, more members of the media.
I hope so. I hope so. Also, thank you very much, GPM. That was a very good presentation, and thank you to all our members of the Security Forces. Commissioner, please tell them that we support them, we see what they're doing. One of the nice things is I get to go around Jamaica because I'm visiting schools, and a lot of times the Security Forces, the officers will come to the school, and they will be so proud to tell what their numbers are. They know numbers. They'll tell you, last year we had this number of murders. This year we're down 20%, 40%. They are so excited to tell you what they're doing. That's a different kind of police force, CPM, than we had before. And I have to say congratulations to you, the PS, the Commissioner, all of our members of the security forces. You are our Minister of State. Congratulations to all of you. We see the work you're doing, feel it. And we thank you on behalf of the people of Jamaica. And so thank you, DPM.
Thank you, Minister.
All right.
Thanks to all the members.
Thank you. And so, as we said earlier, it's Teachers' Day. It is a big day for teachers. I am going to Clancarty Primary School now. I got my lesson plan. I am teaching on, the topic for today for me is finding the mean. And the specific objective at the end of the lesson, students should be able to calculate the mean of a set of data. In terms of critical thinking, they must be able to apply mathematical concepts to real-world situations. And in terms of communication, they must be able to explain reasoning behind their solutions. So let's see how I do today. As a teacher at Clancarty, all of the senior people in the ministry will be there. We're all teaching. And it should be very interesting. I hope that the students will learn from me today and that I'll have a very good class. But again, I want to acknowledge all our wonderful teachers. I'm here because of great teachers who inspired me and spent a lot of time developing me. I know our guild president and all of the guild members, you're here because you had excellent teachers who inspired you and led you to the greatness that I see you moving towards. And so I again want to thank the teachers who we have with us as we end this Teachers' Day post-cabinet press briefing. Alex Hepburn, principal. You can stand when I call your name. Alex Hepburn, principal of Mona Heights Primary School. Sharon Christian, vice principal, Mona Heights. Anita McNeil, senior teacher, Mona Heights Primary 2. Good morning. And they're in their lieu. I think they're supporting you, our police officers. They came in their lieu. They're beautiful this morning. And we also have Kada Benjamin, acting principal of Randolph Lopez School of Hope, working with our special needs children, and Mrs. Nicole Reed-Wright, teacher at Randolph Lopez School of Hope. And we also have Miss Melisha Matheson, principal of the Constitution Hill Primary School. Thank you to all. And we have another teacher from Constitution Hill Primary School. Thank you all for the work that you do. You're such hard workers, and today is your day to hear from Jamaica how wonderful you are and how much we appreciate what you do. So happy Teacher's Day to you, and enjoy the day, enjoy the rest of the school year. I know it's nearing the end, and it's an important part. Thank you so much for being with us. And the last thing I'll say is in relation to our children doing CAPE and CSEC. That started on Monday. We had English. And so on behalf of the Ministry of Education and the entire government, I want to extend well wishes to all our students who are doing CSEC and CAPE. And I have to say that I know they're well prepared because their teachers have prepared them very well. And so I thank the teachers for all the work they have done. And recently we also completed PEP. And again, we want to thank the teachers who work so hard with our students. And so we're going to end things there this morning for post-cabinet press briefing on May 7, 2025. It's been a wonderful morning, and we look forward to seeing you again. And as always, God bless Jamaica, land we love. See you next time.